To a Nevada Commission on Ethics mini training video. These videos are designed to focus on one part of the Nevada's ethics law and the Nevada Commission on Ethics work. I'm Executive Director Ross Armstrong, and I'll be walking us through today's topic, which is the complaint process. The objectives for this session are that by the end of it, you'll understand each step of the complaint case process. You'll understand who on the commission makes decisions at each step in the process, and you'll have an understanding of the final determinations and sanctions in a complaint case. So let's dive into the complaint case process. Every ethics complaint case, of course, starts with a complaint. Members of the public can find an online form at our ethics website, ethics.nv.gov, and complete and submit an ethics complaint online. The ethics complaint has to identify the public officer or employee who is alleged to have violated the ethics law, identify which provisions of the ethics law were violated, and provide evidence, whether that's documentation or kind of written testimony about what happened that actually made an ethics violation. Once the complaint is received, that starts the jurisdictional determination process, and the commission has 45 days to make a determination on jurisdiction. The team at the Nevada Commission on Ethics will prepare a jurisdictional recommendation document that includes the complaint, the information submitted with the complaint, and other publicly available information, and it will make a recommendation to the commission about whether or not they should have jurisdiction on the case and what they should do to proceed with the case. All 8 commissioners participate in the jurisdictional determination process. So what are the options for jurisdictional determination? The first is that there's no jurisdiction and the case should be dismissed. So for example, if a complaint is against a private individual who is not a public officer or employee, the commission doesn't have jurisdiction, and so the case should be dismissed. The other option is that the commission accepts jurisdiction, and if they decide to accept jurisdiction over the case, because it meets all the requirements in the Nevada revised statutes, then they have essentially 3 options about what to do. They can just dismiss the case with no further action. They can determine there's no need to investigate. There's nothing, they may not rise to the seriousness of needing to do anything more with the case. They can dismiss the case, but issue a letter of caution or instruction to the subject of the complaint. And those letters, the letter of caution and letter of instruction, really let the public officer or employee know what the ethical standards are, how their behavior may have implicated potential ethics violations, and provides guidance for avoiding future ethics violations based on their conduct. And then the third option is that the commission at that point can order the executive director to initiate an investigation and proceed with the case. If an investigation is ordered, a number of things happen, including notice is issued to the subject of the complaint. So this is the first time the subject of the complaint will learn that there's an ethics complaint against them. They'll be informed of their right to be represented by legal counsel throughout the rest of the proceedings, and they're also provided an opportunity to respond in writing prior to the next step, which is a panel determination. At that point, it's important to note that the commission only has information from one side of the story, the person who made the complaint, and so the opportunity to review a response from a subject really helps the commission understand what occurred in the event or incident or series of incidents that led to the ethics violation. So as we said, the panel determination is the next step of the process. As the executive director works through the investigation, they then will draft a panel determination and submit it to a panel of 3 commissioners. Those 3 commissioners will review the recommendation and make a determination. It's at the conclusion of the panel determination process that the case becomes public. And so the commission will never confirm or deny the existence of a complaint to the media or others until a panel determination is made. So what are the determinations that this 3-commissioner panel can make? It's similar to the jurisdictional phase, in which they can determine that they should dismiss a case so there's no ethics violation. They can dismiss the case but issue one of those letters of caution or instruction. If they determine that there is credible evidence that there is sufficient and just cause to refer the case to the commission, they essentially have two options at that point. They can refer it to the commission for an opinion, or they can ask the executive director to develop a deferral agreement. And deferral agreement is an agreement between the subject of a complaint and the executive director that typically has conditions such as attend ethics training, stay out of ethics trouble for 2 years. Sometimes it might include changing policies or practices back at the home agency, but it's a way to have an educational approach, a softer approach that results in no violation for the public official or employee. And so that's what a deferral agreement is, or it can go to the commission for a full opinion. So let's talk about what happens if the case proceeds to the full commission. If it's referred to the commission, then an adjudicatory hearing is set. It's essentially our version of a mini ethics trial, where both the executive director and the subject are provided opportunity to present and question witnesses, submit documentation of evidence, any other sort of exhibits that can help the commission in a determination about whether or not a violation occurred. 5 commissioners can participate in the adjudicatory hearing. The 3 commissioners who served on the panel are not permitted to serve at the adjudicatory hearing. So once their service in a case is completed with a panel determination, they no longer, throughout the life of the case, can participate in any sort of way. So what can be the result of an adjudicatory hearing? At the adjudicatory hearing, the commissioners can determine that there was no violation. The standard at the adjudicatory hearing is preponderance of the evidence, and so there may not be a preponderance of the evidence that there was a violation, and so they'll determine there was no violation. Or if the preponderance of the evidence shows there was a violation, then the commission will determine if the violation was willful or non-willful, and they'll determine what the penalty is. The Nevada ethics law has very specific factors for determining whether a violation is willful or not, and they look at factors such as any mitigation that the public employee or officer has done since the complaint was filed, whether or not there's a prior history of ethics complaints and violations, whether or not the official personally financially benefited or somebody else financially benefited from the ethics violation, and other factors about the seriousness of the violation itself. And so if there's a violation, they'll determine if it's willful or not, and then they'll need to make a determination about what the appropriate penalty or sanction is. And so here are examples of the disposition penalties that can occur. Obviously, if there's no violation, there's not going to be a penalty. The case just at that point ends. In non-willful situations, the commission can order training, they can mandate an apology, they can issue an admonishment, they can, if there was financial gain from the ethics violation, they can require that the financial benefit be paid back or issued, basically submitted as part of a penalty. And the law actually allows the commission to get double the amount of benefit that was received. There can be conditions on future behavior. If it was willful, any remedy that's permitted under the non-willful column is still a tool that the commission can use. They can also issue civil penalties up to $5,000 for the first offense, $10,000 for the second, and $25,000 for the third offense. There's also reprimands and censures that the commission can issue if it's a willful violation. And if there are a sufficient number of willful violations, the commission either has permissive authority to petition to remove the public officer from office, or in certain circumstances, it's mandated that the commission then file a petition to have the public officer removed. So that is the basics of the complaint case process. It starts with a complaint. The very first step in the process is a jurisdictional determination. It then moves to a panel determination and then concludes with the adjudicatory hearing. Just as in all legal matters throughout the process, there's always opportunity for the parties to agree on a resolution, and those agreements can include different conditions such as education, training, or penalties in negotiations for limiting the number of violations that are found, or whether a violation is willful or non-willful. And so there's lots of tools that the commission has to resolve a case without going through the entire process. But today we've walked through the entire process, so you have a good understanding of how that process works, or at least a basic understanding of how that process works. Again, you can find complaints at our website, which is ethics.nv.gov, and you can always find more educational materials on our Twitter or our LinkedIn account. Thank you for joining us today. We hope you learned a lot from this mini training session.